It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. Today is Horticulture Day. I'm Charity Nebby. There is so much good stuff coming out of our vegetable gardens these days. We're at the height of the season for produce, and the veggies will just keep coming for the rest of the summer. Today, we're going to talk about best practices for harvesting your produce with Iowa State University Extension horticulture specialist Dan Filius. Hello, Dan.
Hey there, Charity. How are you?
I'm good. And with so many things ripening all at the same time, it can get a little out of control this time of year. I mean, everybody's got a story about the zucchini that's the size of a baseball bat, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yes. So when I'm looking at all of the vegetables that I have ripe at the moment, and I used to be a commercial grower, so I had the whole, growing for a CSA box, and when I had to look at the things and prioritize, I had to make choices, and that triage of it really comes down to, in my opinion, the field holding capacity and what's going to go bad soonest, and going for those things first. So, I have this inventory in my head of what's got a short, quote unquote, field holding capacity and what's got a long one. And, we all know, like sweet corn, you got to pick it and eat it, right?
Right.
But then there's other things, like a carrot or beet that can sort of sit in the ground a little bit longer, and it doesn't, it grows slowly over time and not quickly. So, yeah, that's the thing that mainly I'm looking at for sure.
Okay. Well, I would like to start with the short field holding capacity, because those are the things that we have to take action on. And as you said, pick and eat or pick and process. If you've got more than you can eat right now, then you've got to do something with them right away. What are some of the short field holding capacity crops? And when you say short, how short?
Oh, yeah. Well, the shortest is like 1 to 2 days. And that's like the sweet corn. Something that I think needs to be picked almost every single day is okra. That can get big and out of its ideal size quick, but not everybody picks okra, but maybe grows okra, I should say. But zucchini is another one of those things. Like you say, if you don't pick it soon, it's going to become a baseball bat, and 6 to 9 inches is the size that is commercially, what you're looking for. But thankfully, as a home gardener, we have a little bit more flexibility with the size that is. You can take it to a baseball bat size in the zucchini and still make some zucchini noodles, say, or something like that. But some other things in the 1 to 2 day range, broccoli and cauliflower. Broccoli goes past pretty quickly, but cauliflower will show a bigger sign. It'll start to turn brown if you don't get it within a day or two of its peak ripeness. That's when it is pushing bigger and pushing the leaves away from the head and exposing it to the sunlight, so it starts to turn brown.
So if it starts to turn brown, are you out of luck, or can you still rescue that?
Oh, no, this is merely something that is, appetizing, right? Something, and we have, a lot more flexibility in the home garden for these things. There is a period of time between when it starts to turn brown and when it starts to really separate into individual curds that you can see and become a flower, really. And that is, it's still edible. It's just not as good to look at.
Okay, and that's your emergency warning. You waited too long to pick this. Do it right now.
Exactly.
So even in the short zone, there are still some things that can hold maybe a week or so, or at least a few days.
Yes. And more like the half a week to a week long things like lettuce, kohlrabi, peppers, watermelon I think on the melon side of it, we've got cantaloupe in the shorter time. It's going to split if you don't get it right now. They also, cantaloupe, when you pull them off the plant, they will continue to ripen. So and harvesting at peak ripeness in the field gives you less shelf life in the kitchen. But watermelon has a little bit more time. And of course, watermelon is notorious for being hard to pick right on time. But when it is time, 3 to 5 days on that one for sure. Now, tomatoes, big one that is in most people's gardens. These are something that you can harvest them at any point from when they start to turn color, like the very tiniest hint of color on those tomatoes, and then they will continue to ripen at room temperature, or you can pick them fully ripe. Of course, you get less shelf life if picked fully ripe. And I have done experiments where, blind taste tests where we take them when they're just starting to turn and when they're fully ripe, side by side with full farm crew. Again, this is not a controlled experiment or anything, but it was hard to tell the difference between ones that had been picked a bit early and ones that were picked fully ripe. So which is unorthodox opinion right there. But you can pick them at the turning stage and end up with, and that gives you a little bit more flexibility on that picking time. So you're not always trying to go out there every single day to get the one that's at peak ripeness. You can pick a group of them and hold them to ripen.
All right. And when you hold them, I'm somebody who doesn't like to put tomatoes in the refrigerator.
Good job.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're holding them is something that you need to do at room temperature?
Yes. I often, when I am, holding them in a fridge decreases the flavor and aroma compounds that tomato is exuding. And so you do get less of that pleasurable experience. So holding at room temperature is the right way to do that to get the best experience. And I often struggle because, I eat half a tomato and then what do I do with the other half? Well, I usually put it in the fridge and I just compromise. But
All right. And again, you need to process them before they go bad if you have more
Yes.
tomatoes than you can handle. Now let's talk about longer field holding capacity. What are the vegetables that give you a little more breathing room?
Sure. And most of these are these vegetables that are root vegetables or ones that are storage vegetables that are, meant to hold for a while, to hold maybe over the winter and then send up a flower stalk the following year. Cabbage is one. If you have a cabbage in the field and it is at harvestable size, you can just let it go a little bit longer and it'll slowly grow. Now, when you can get into trouble with that is if you've got a big heavy rain coming, or as we've seen a lot in central Iowa, at least this year, those can then suddenly grow very rapidly, and that can cause them to split. So if you've got that sort of situation coming, get that thing out of the ground, but or chop it, harvest it. Beets, carrots, leeks, parsnips. All these root vegetables are pretty good at holding a good amount of time. And pumpkins and winter squash, they do have best shelf life if harvested when they're peak ripe, when they start to turn that, not green and more the ripe color. But you can leave them in the field. We see the pumpkin patches, them out in the field, and they can tolerate even a light frost, but they won't take a heavy frost for sure. That'll damage them. And then things that we're harvesting a lot right now that we're seeing come out of the garden: onions, garlic, potatoes. These are ones that they have a long field holding capacity, but each of them has a little bit of difference to them. Onions, they're going to suffer in wet weather, like we talked about with the cabbage. But in a slightly different way. They might start to rot more if the water gets in between the layers. You want these to be dry when cured and for storage. So ideally, you look for about 50 to 80% of tops fallen, and then if you got dry weather, you can uproot them and let them sit on the soil surface, or you can bring them all in and with tops on and into a protected area and let them dry. And then when the tops are fully dried back, you cut the tops off just above that pinched off neck, and then you got some nice onions.
I
Garlic.
think that
Sorry, go
all
ahead.
of these crops, the onions, the garlics, potatoes, they're things that people get nervous about knowing when to pick as well. So, with garlic, how do you know when it's time?
Yeah. Now you can garlic. If the tops are going to fully die back, turn brown. Now each of those leaves that is on that garlic plant is going to correspond with one of the paper wrappers that is protecting that garlic bulb, and so I typically go for 5 or so green leaves on the garlic plant, and green because that means that the wrapper inside is still a little pliable, and that won't break or shatter when I'm handling it after I harvest it. So perfect timing is when you've got 5 green leaves on a garlic. Then you can manhandle a little bit more, be a little bit more rough with it during harvest. But if you miss that, you go on vacation and come back, they're all brown, you can still harvest that. It's just you got to be a little bit more tender with it as you're handling it so that you don't break through into those bulbs, and that'll give you a good long shelf life.
All right. And potatoes, how do you know?
Yeah, well, when the tops are all brown and dead, they're not growing anymore. And people who are there are commercial growers who have green potatoes and they want them totally brown. And some commercial growers will terminate those things with either chemical control or with a flame. They can kill off the tops. But usually, it's in the home garden. We don't have to worry about that. They're all brown. They've fallen. Then you dig them, and again, they've got good field holding capacity. However, if the hills, the soil that's covering those potatoes starts to erode away, and the potatoes are exposed, then the sun starts to turn them green very, very rapidly. So watch out for that. You want to make sure that they're still well covered, and if they are fully covered, then you've got some good holding time. But and you can work it into your schedule to harvest those on your schedule.
And of course, those are also all things that we want to save and use for the months ahead. We don't have time to have a deep conversation about curing, but do you have some brief advice?
Yeah, generally speaking, onions and garlic, you want to dry them out in a covered location that's not too warm with a fan on them, and for a couple weeks, and then they'll store pretty well. Potatoes, you want to cure them in a cool, 60 to 68 degrees, so in the basement maybe for a couple weeks, and then they store best at a colder temperature. But if you don't have a colder, large place to put them, you can keep them in that basement or protected area that's just not freezing, but close to freezing temperature is pretty good for potatoes. 40 degrees, high 30s.
And they should last you well into the cooler months then.
Indeed.
What do you have too much of right now, Dan?
Oh my goodness! I have. I'm going to be honest, Charity. I'm kind of taking a sabbatical year, and so I didn't plant a ton of things in my garden except to cover all the space. I've got a lot of pumpkins and winter squash, and so I don't have a ton of it right now. But I'm going to have way too much, and so yeah, it's coming.
Dan Filius, Iowa State University Extension Horticulture Specialist. For more gardening information and tips, please subscribe to our Garden Variety newsletter. You can find out more at iowapublicradio.org/garden. I'm Charity Nebbe. It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Today is Horticulture Day, and with me, Dan Filius, Iowa State University Extension Horticulture Specialist, and Aaron Stile is also here, Iowa State University Extension Horticulture Specialist. Hello, Aaron.
Good morning.
Thank you both for being here. And of course, you can join the conversation with your questions about all the things you'd like to grow or grow better. You can give us a call at 866-780-9100. 866-780-9100, or you can send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. Aaron, we've got questions. Before we get to them, though, what do you have too much of in your garden right now?
Green beans.
Yeah.
I have too many green beans, and it's hard to keep up with them.
Yes.
And you want to harvest them regularly because that encourages better production, and of course, you want to get them before they become like these big seedy things.
Right, that are so tough.
That requires harvesting every 3 days, 4 days. And I'm not into that.
Yeah, definitely short field holding capacity on those ones.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm sure this will reinvigorate you and inspire you. Let's get to the phones. Brenda's on the line in Gladbrook. Hi, Brenda.
Good morning.
What's your question?
We ripped out some overgrown shrubs on the north side of our church, and we're looking for some durable landscape plants that can handle a northwest wind. They get morning sun, afternoon shade. They'll be against the brick wall. We want low maintenance, but there is a irrigation line in there.
Okay.
So any recommendations for some fun shrubs, or are there hostas, some varieties of hostas for those conditions?
Well, how big do you want ultimately the shrub to get?
Oh, we're up for anything, I guess. I mean, they could
Okay.
get up to 8 feet. They could get up to 8 feet tall, but probably a little bit shorter would be better.
Okay. The first things that come to mind for me are arrowwood viburnum. That's a favorite shrub of mine. White flowers in the spring, beautiful blue fruit that's basically been just picked over by the birds at this point, and really nice fall color in autumn. So also it's a native plant. There's some really nice cultivars that are readily available that would do pretty nicely there. Blue muffin, raspberry tart are two that come to mind right off the top of my head. So that would be one. Another one on my mind would be 9-bark. There are a lot of really nice 9-bark cultivars that vary a lot in size. Some of them are as small as 2 and 3 feet, and others can be upwards of 6, depending on which one you choose. And you can get dark foliage, like purpley foliaged ones. You can get chartreuse foliage ones. There's a lot of options there too. So I do like those as shrubs. So, and I want to give you a third one for this. Oh, panicle hydrangea would be another one that I would look into. Very easy to grow, very easy to find in the garden center, and lots of different options in terms of size, so you can find the one that works best for your situation.
And would you consider hostas at all? Because we have some hosta fans, but maybe it's not the right conditions.
Certainly under these shrubs would be great to have. I mean, hostas, especially when they're planted kind of near each other, can make a really nice ground cover, and that would help keep down some of the maintenance long term in terms of weeding and some of those things, because as long as the soil is covered, you're going to have fewer weeds, and certainly hostas would help with that.
Okay, it's got a lot of rock mulch, so we'll be tucking these into where we took the other ones.
Yeah, the hostas won't love that, but it's not in the afternoon sun, so it won't get as hot. So that's at least something that's working in your favor there.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the call, Brenda. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. 866-780-9100. Send an email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. Roger is up next in Lone Tree. Hi, Roger.
Hey, good day. Thanks for taking my call again.
Sure.
So I have a couple unrelated questions. One is about an apple tree I planted last fall, about 10 feet tall. And it was nice and healthy when I put it in, but now it's still standing tall. But I'd say 90+% of the leaves have just like they're brown and like lattice. It's just like some chew through. So what is going on with that?
Do you remember what cultivar it is?
Yeah, it's frostbite.
Okay. I suspect it's been a really bad disease year for apples. Our spring was very good for diseases, and that's very bad for us. And most of the common apple varieties that we see out and about do get apple scab, which would cause sometimes it starts as a yellow spot. As it gets brown, sometimes the center will fall out, and then the leaves usually fall off early. It's stressful for the plant, but it's typically not something that would kill it. The only way to really deal with it is to get on a preemptive spray program. And for most homeowners, a home orchard spray, just looking for a home orchard spray, is the most straightforward option. It tells you exactly when to apply stuff, because when you apply it is very important in controlling these issues in the future. You can get both organic ones and conventional ones, so whatever kind of meets your need there. But most apples need some kind of help to prevent disease issues and some insect issues too. They're just riddled with them. And if we don't do anything, the plants live, but we don't get the apples that we're really looking for. They usually end up just being kind of knobby and, I don't know, good for cider, and that's about it.
So not an insect probably, but more of a disease thing.
Yeah, especially if it's on the foliage.
On the edge of a field.
Yeah, most of the insect issues
the
we
leaves
see.
are still on there, but they're still brown. And
there are some. Japanese beetles love apple trees. They would cause stuff like that. There are some insects that would impact the foliage. Most of the insects we're really worried about on apples impact the fruit. So, fruit worm and some of these other things.
And your other question, Roger?
Thank you for that. The other is, so every year I've been battling like grass that grows insidiously in my garden, and I've avoided putting like herbicides and stuff in there, but pulling them is definitely, and I've tried spacing things out to mow it, but it's like I didn't put any covering on that this year, but I guess I'm just looking to see can I just put like a big tarp across it over the winter and just kill it off or something, or what's the cure for keeping grass from coming in every year?
Yeah, especially if it's been really challenging, I suspect this is quackgrass, and that one is very difficult because of the rhizomes, which are kind of deep in the ground. If you dig around a little bit, they're usually kind of white and really wiry, and it takes a while to get rid of those. Smothering is a great approach to this. It will probably not get rid of it entirely. It's really hard to get it through digging. Often we end up resorting to some very targeted spot spraying to help with it. It takes a lot of persistence. I like the idea, though, of starting with smothering and then over the winter seeing what it looks like in the spring and kind of going from there in terms of either digging or pulling or using some targeted herbicide applications.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for the call, Roger. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. You can send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. Here's a question from Marion, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. She says, what is the shelf life of fresh picked beans? Do they need to be refrigerated the same day as picking?
I would say, yeah, you want to refrigerate those the same day as picking. Get them cooled down most vegetables you want to get cooler than they were in the field for better holding, and beans are that way for sure. The one place that people can go or things can go awry with vegetables, and beans in particular, I would say, is if you encase them in a plastic bag so that they don't get rubbery, right? And you put them in the fridge. Well, they're still respiring, and then there's a lot of condensation in that bag, which then ends up dripping down, and you've got a wet pool at the bottom, and those beans get too wet. So I think best practice there is, yes, put them in the fridge, but put them in a plastic bag with the top open to let that moisture vent out for overnight maybe, and then close that bag at that point, or fold it over, not fully zip the ziplock shut or something like that, but just leave a little opening rather than a big opening.
And just a little weather advice. It's so unusual that our weather gave us a break during Ragbri, but we've got all kinds of heat warnings popping up for Sunday and Monday again. Mm-hmm. Should we think about that with harvesting things that are ripe right now before it really heats up again and maybe they go over? Yeah,
that's a really good point. The plants grow faster, develop faster when it is warmer. So that like 1 to 2 days could end up being half a day to a day, or 3 to 7 days could be 2 to 4 days. So yeah, that is something certainly to watch out for. And think about yourself also. What do you want to be doing during that hot time? Do you want to be out there picking that stuff, hunched over picking beans?
I know Aaron doesn't.
No, I sure don't.
Or, get the first one done now rather than having to and do another one then, rather than having to do one at the beginning and one at the end of the heat wave or something like that, All right, let's go back to the phones. Tim is on the line in Iowa City. Hi, Tim.
Hi.
What's your question?
I live on the end of a cul-de-sac in Iowa City, which has a traffic island on it, which supposedly has a tree in the center of the traffic island, which is very pleasant. The city has put 3 trees in there in the last 20 years, all 3 of which have died, and they're not going to do any more. But they have no objection to the neighborhood putting a tree in. My hypothesis is that the trees die because the snow plow puts all the plowed snow up on the island, and this is full of salt and the other stuff that they put on the road to prevent it icing. And I would like to know about salt-resistant trees.
Yeah, so yes, that certainly could play a role in this. It's a really tough spot for a tree, and oftentimes this is very common, especially for those trees that are in right-of-ways. After planting, they are not treated as well as they should be to be successful. And so one of the first steps, even beyond salt tolerance, is going to be making sure that you're doing a good job of watering that first year, even the first 2 years. Regular watering, it will probably be needed to get that tree well established. It is true that salt can be really hard on some of these on plants like this. The good news is that salt also moves really easily. So in the spring, giving it a really good soak down in that area will wash away most of the salt that would be problematic. And so that might be a good kind of task to do in the spring to help the tree along. I'm blanking on. I know I have a list on the Yard and Garden site of salt-tolerant trees. So if you were to Google salt-tolerant trees, we have a nice article on trees that really hate those conditions to avoid. Arborvitae is one of them, as an example. And trees that really love those conditions, or not love, but will tolerate those conditions without a lot of problems. So, if you search for salt-tolerant trees, Iowa State, that list will come up, and you'll get some stuff that will work well in that situation.
At the top of that list, we've got bur oak, honey locust, Kentucky coffee tree. So some of your favorites anyway, Aaron.
Yeah, and those are classic street trees, and that's part of the reason why they end up being in that location is because they do okay in that area. I'm pretty sure red oak is on that list too, and that's probably one of the most straightforward oak trees to plant. It's one of the faster growing oak trees, and it does work well in those kinds of situations.
Tim, good luck. I hope you find something that thrives there. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. You can send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. And we've got a question from Christine and Marion who writes, I just moved and I had to put my Asian lilies from my old place in pots. These lilies are 20 years old and this will be the third residence I've had them at. I haven't been able to plant them yet due to new sod being laid. What's the best thing I should do this fall so that I can have them in the ground next spring?
Yeah, I would probably try to plant them this fall and then give them a good layer of mulch this first winter. So getting them back in the ground is going to be the easiest way to overwinter them. It's a lot harder to be successful trying to overwinter things in a container. So because you're planting them so much later in the season, that little extra layer of mulch, it could be like wood chips or shredded bark. It could be a good pile of leaf mulch, and it would be whatever you did, you would remove it in the spring, usually around March. So you'd want it down kind of mid-November, and you would want it off kind of mid-March. And you would only need to do it this first year because you're planting them so late in the season. But that would be the easiest way to keep them over winter.
Anna in Iowa City says, I have mulch beds around my house, mostly in shady areas. It seems that I have artillery fungus all over the side of my house in these areas. What should I do?
That stuff is really challenging. So this is a fungus that it's a common fungus in mulch when we have really wet conditions. There's a couple of different things that sometimes we see the little bird nest cup fungus. Many of us might have seen that in our mulch. Artillery fungus is another one. And the reason why this one's problematic is because it actually shoots its spores out. That's where the name comes from. And they stick to siding and cars, and it's really difficult to get it off. Freshening up the mulch layer, kind of removing what you can see of that stuff, putting down some mulch can help with that. A lot of times these fungus become a big problem when conditions are super wet and then become really dry, or if they're like really saturated wet. And so if you can break up the mulch, get it a little bit more aerated, remove some of the, if you see any of it, remove it, and then maybe put down kind of a fresh light layer on top of it, that would probably help a lot. Unfortunately, on vinyl siding, it's going to take a lot of scrubbing to get that off. It's really annoying. I mean, thankfully, you're probably the only one that notices it. But it is certainly something that can happen occasionally.
All right, and just some home improvement day advice to go along with that. Don't power wash your vinyl siding because then you'll have a different set of problems. Bill McAnally would want me to say that. All right, we are going to take a short break. With me today, I have Iowa State University Extension horticulture specialists Aaron Stile and Dan Filius. They are here to answer your questions about all the things you'd like to grow or grow better, you can email us at talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org or give us a call, 866-780-9100. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. We've got some lines open for you right now. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News. It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Today is Horticulture Day. With me, Iowa State University Extension horticulture specialists Aaron Stile and Dan Filius. They're here to answer your questions. Give us a call. 866-780-9100 is the number, or send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. And Gail writes, we planted pole green beans and have beautiful foliage and lots of blooms, but we're getting very few beans. Any ideas as to what may be going on or what we can do to encourage the growth of beans?
Lots of flowers, no beans. Usually it's a pollination issue of some sort. And we have had some difficult weather with that, with the heat, high heat, if it corresponds with a lot of times poor pollination or flower abortion. So that could be the problem. I know I haven't seen it this year necessarily, but there were, at least with cucurbits last year, there were some issues with poor pollination early because of low pollinator activity because of all the rain we had in June and July. Of course, we've had a lot of rain. I missed hearing where this person was asking the question from, because we've had very dry conditions in some part of the state and very wet conditions in other parts, both of which can be problematic. You know, not enough moisture can mean the plant is not getting enough moisture to carry that fruit, to completion, or to get the flower pollinated. So there's a number of different reasons why that could be. Stress in general is a big one, and if the plant is not getting what it wants and what it needs, then the flower is not going to turn into a fruit.
Well, and so the heat wave that we had may have caused lack of pollination.
Yes.
There's still a chance that things will catch up, that maybe you're not going to have beans from those blooms, but you might from new blooms, right?
Yes. And a pole bean is like an indeterminate tomato in that it just keeps growing and setting new flowers along the length of the stem. And so the season couldn't be much longer for those. And so I wouldn't give up hope on these pole beans by any means.
All right, let's go back to the phones. 866-780-9100 is the number. We've got Kieran on the line in North Liberty. Hi, Kieran.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What's your question?
Hi. First off, very big fan of the show. And I have a fire maple outside that we recently transplanted. It's about 10 feet tall, and the leaves have been looking very like it's fall right now. Obviously, they look yellow and red. So what we're wondering is, we've been watering a lot. Like, should we just be watering it more because of all this heat, or is there something happening? Does something happen to maple trees? Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, transplanting is a very stressful situation. Anytime we see early fall color developing, it's almost always due to stressful conditions. It has been hot. It has been, and that of course makes it really challenging for a tree that has just lost at least half, if not more, of its root system in the transplanting. Maples will be fairly quick to recover from this, but this first year in particular, it's going to be stressful, and that's almost certainly why you're seeing early fall color. The best way to approach this is to continue to water when needed. So it is possible to overwater. Make sure that you're checking before you do that. For most trees the size that you are talking about, you're probably going to end up watering about once or twice a week. in kind of that range. It might be a little bit more depending on the soil conditions. It might be a little bit less depending on the location. But that's kind of the typical kind of cadence of watering right after planting it, that first summer right after planting. But make sure you're checking it. As long as the soil needs water, then absolutely keep on your same schedule. But make sure also that you're not accidentally putting down too much water. It is possible to do even when it's really hot out. So I would say just keep continuing what you're doing as long as it's not putting down too much water, and the tree should pull out of it, especially once things cool down.
All right, Kieran, good luck with that. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. Irv is up next in Waterloo. Hi, Irv.
Good morning.
What's your question?
How are you this morning?
Great.
My question is, I have a 55-year-old large soft maple tree in my backyard, and it's losing bark on the main limbs that come off the trunk. And I'm wondering, is this something that is a large concern? Is the tree dying, or is there something that I can do for it?
So silver maple does shed bark sometimes. The only time I would be concerned is if you can see heartwood or kind of smooth wood underneath the bark. If what's peeling off is revealing more bark, no worries at all. This is something, it's not as much as a shagbark hickory, but silver maple does absolutely shed bark. And so as long as there's new bark underneath, you're not seeing kind of the center of the tree in any way, there's nothing to worry about. If you are seeing that, then I would probably get somebody in to look at it more closely. There's something else going on then. And a tree that large would be something that I would want evaluated by a professional to make sure it's not a safety risk.
Yes, this is not a silver maple. It is a soft maple. And the limbs that are underneath are smooth. There's no bark underneath them.
Okay. So, yeah, that would definitely be something that you would want somebody to come and look at, because there's a lot of different things that might cause that. And I'm assuming this is a fairly large tree if it's 55 years old. And so making sure that there's not something structurally unsound with the tree is going to be really important.
Irv, thanks so much for the call. Next, we'll go to Susan in Coralville. Hi, Susan.
Hi. Yeah, my question is, I have a cucumber plant that looks great and it has a ton of flowers, but it's only producing male flowers, so there's no fruit. And I have another plant just like it that is producing fruit, and I'm wondering, is it possible it's never going to have any female flowers?
Yeah, it is very likely to end up getting female flowers. There are varieties that are out there that are bred for just female flowers, but they will, if it's not that type, then it's going to have male and female. And that is something that it can be environmental causes that cause more, like temperature, that can cause more male to begin with. I see this more on zucchini than I do on cucumbers, so it's a little curious, but I would not give up hope that on this thing. And it could, again, be a pollination issue. Like if you're going out there and you are surely not seeing any female flowers with tiny little cucumber initiates, on those things, then that's very interesting. But it also could be just poor pollination, like we were talking about with the beans earlier, stress on the plant, high temperatures or moisture, that is. And but I wouldn't give up hope on that cucumber.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'll keep watching it. Yeah, but for sure there hasn't been any female flowers, and so I was just really puzzled, but I'll give it a chance.
And can I ask, how long has it been flowering now that you have not seen female flowers?
Oh my gosh, probably for at least 6 weeks, and I have another one just like it. I planted at the same time, and I've had lots of cucumbers, and I can see the female flowers on that one, but this other one, it's nothing.
Okay, that is quite odd that it has been producing male flowers for 6 weeks with no female flowers. Yeah. Then I might give up hope on that one. What you said, it's a different variety than the other one that is producing cucumbers?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't remember what they are, but they're sort of the pickling type cucumbers, so kind of short and fat, and one of them's producing female flowers, and the other one's not.
That is very interesting. I'm going to have to look into this. You've reached the end of my knowledge on this, unfortunately, but yeah, I would give up hope probably on that one plant.
Or maybe sell tickets to see it. This sounds like a real oddity.
I'll buy one.
It's a phenomenon.
All right,
thank you.
Susan, thanks a lot for the call. Next up, let's go to Joel on the line in Iowa City. Hi, Joel.
Hi. I have a question about a young peach tree. It's been in the ground, started from seed by an orchardist in Decorah. I don't know the variety, but the lore around the Decorah community is that it has been producing peaches happily in the Decorah environment for decades. It has been very healthy and vigorous for 2 seasons. This year, however, it did not leaf out at all. The twigs are crispy and the buds are dry. However, later in the spring, it put out some sprouts around the base of the tree, which is about 2.5 to 3 inches in diameter. And those sprouts have increased so that it is thickly surrounded with new sprouts around the base of the tree, some of them up to 2 feet tall. So I'm wondering what I should do should I leave all of those and prune in the spring, or how should I manage that?
So, and you said this was seed grown, right?
It was started from seed.
Okay, yes, that makes a big difference actually, because nearly all peach trees that you would purchase are grafted, and in that situation you would not want to keep these suckers. But because this was grown from seed, it's not grafted. What's popping up is the same as what was above, and so I would probably. What's that?
I said that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
The tree variety.
Yes, they're probably the same. And so I would probably even now try to narrow it down to the, kind of the strongest, most vigorous shoot, and then remove all of the others and try to establish something new there. Again, it's not something we would do typically with a fruit tree because almost all of them are grafted, but because this one's seed grown, we can do this. It will take some time for it to get bigger again, but that's certainly something that, that's one of the benefits of doing this thing from seed, I guess. You were able to do that. Peaches, it's not surprising this year that we saw a lot of dieback on peach. It was a really rough spring, especially in southeast Iowa, for some of those marginally hardy plants because of the way the weather panned out. But obviously it didn't kill it all the way. So I would pick one of those stems, prune out all the others. I would do that now. You could do that now. And then protect it over the winter so that the rabbits don't get to it. And you should be getting something very similar to what you had after a couple of years.
All right, Joel, good luck with that. Mary's up next in Altoona with another maple question. We're starting to get a trend going here.
Yeah.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I have a red maple tree in my front yard. It's about 2.5 years old. The house sat empty for quite a while, and I don't think it got watered before I purchased the house and I started to care for my tree. I've taken good care of it, and it was doing well, and then all of a sudden I went out and the leaves on the edges are turning brown and crispy and falling off, and I don't know if I've overwatered it. I don't know what's wrong.
Sure. How big is this tree? Like if you were to measure across the trunk, what would be the diameter and what's the approximate height, would you say?
It's probably about 12 feet tall.
Okay.
And then the diameter is, it's a small.
Probably 2-3 inches, 3-4 inches, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, I would definitely continue to watch after this. It has been a stressful summer, and a younger tree, this one's younger, would probably see a little bit, although I wouldn't expect this much. And so I'm wondering if there's some other things that might be going on. In particular, looking at the base of the tree where it kind of goes into the ground, where it comes in contact with the ground, does it look like a telephone pole going into the ground, or does it kind of flare out a little bit before it gets there? One of the things that we often see is that they're planted too deeply. That puts a lot more stress on the tree.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I think it kind of flares out a little bit.
Okay, that
have
would be
put
good.
mulch around it to try to help it.
Okay, that would be good. That would be good. Go take a closer look at it, see, and kind of see. And if you don't see it, if it does kind of just go straight into the ground, if you dig down until you get to that kind of first order of roots or where it kind of flares out, if that's more than a quarter, half an inch, that can be really also really stressful on the plant. It was basically just planted too deeply. There's not much you can do about it at this point, but to try to just help the tree be as healthy as possible. Watering it when it's dry is certainly something that you could do. But I would kind of look into some of those things now, considering that it isn't, it wasn't planted this year. So it is something probably more than just environmental or weather stress.
Mary, thanks so much for the call, and we'll do 2 quick email questions before we're entirely out of time. Rachel in Cedar Rapids says, we've harvested quite a bit of our garden, and now we have a lot of open space. Some will be used for a fall crop, but are there some flowers we can plant now to get the area to fill in for the rest of the summer?
So covering a lot of space with flowers, I'm thinking cover crops, of course. Aaron, I'll leave the maybe other flowers to you if you have one, but I think of buckwheat as a really great candidate for warm season, quick establishment, and terminates very easy with a weed whacker or something like that, so that you can then get a fall crop in there. But buckwheat, real nice one. You want to you can feel free to cut it back 8 or 10 days after it starts to flower so that it doesn't set seed, but bees love it.
Aaron, you have anything you want to add?
I like that idea. It's kind of late in the season to be establishing a lot of annuals, so that could work really well.
Okay, well, I think we're out of time, but we will be back with Horticulture Day again next Friday. Aaron Stile, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Dan Filius, thank you.
You're welcome.
Iowa State University Extension horticulture specialists Aaron Stile and Dan Filius. Talk of Iowa is a production of IPR News. Our producers are Samantha McIntosh, Danny Gear, and Caitlin Troutman. Today, our production assistant, Nev Kelly, helped us out, along with technical support from Tony Sarabia and Jackson Trotman. You never need to miss an episode of Talk of Iowa. You can subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts and look for Garden Variety as well. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Have a great weekend.